Imagine for a moment you're sitting in a room completely dark, where shadows dance on walls, and whispers of doubt echo in. Your mind you reach for a light switch, but it's not. There in this darkness, a single thought emerges. I can't. Two simple words that have changed millions to mediocrity, bound generations to limitations, and imprisoned dreams in the dungeons of despair. But what if I told you that in this same darkness, a different thought could illuminate your entire existence? What burns brighter, the darkness of doubt or the flame of belief? Take a moment right now and think about the very last thought that crossed your mind before you arrived here. Was it empowering? Was it limiting? Was it yours? Or was it planted there by I stand before you today, not just to speak, but to ignite a revolution, not one fought with weapons of steel and gunpowder, but with the most powerful force in the universe, the human thought, your thoughts. My brothers and sisters are the architects of tomorrow's reality. They are the seeds that grow into the forest of your future, the blueprint of your destiny. Consider Sarah, a young woman from the streets of Chicago who grew up hearing she was nothing but a statistic. Every morning she would look in the mirror and see failure reflected back at her. But one day, one single moment, one thought changed everything. What if they wrong? That thought, that tiny spark in the darkness grew into a flame that transformed her into one of the most successful entrepreneurs in her community. You see, thoughts aren't just fleeting moments in our minds, they're the DNA of our destiny. Every great achievement in human history began with a single thought. The White brothers didn't just wake up one morning and find themselves in the sky. They first had to believe that humans could fly. That thought, that belief preceded every calculation, every failed attempt, every success. How many of you have ever told yourself, I'm not good enough? Raise your hand. See those hands? Each one represents a mind that has been programmed, often not by choice, but by circumstance, by society, by fear. But here's the magnificent truth. If your mind can be programmed for limitation, it can be reprogrammed for liberation. Your thoughts are not just abstract concepts floating in the void of your consciousness. They are living, breathing forces that shape the very fabric of your reality. When you think, I can't, your brain releases chemicals that reinforce that belief. Your muscles tense, your breathing becomes shallow, and your body literally prepares for failure. But when you think, I can, something miraculous happens. Your brain floods with possibilities, your body straightens, and your spirit. Let me share a profound truth. Your thoughts are like seeds planted in the fertile soil of the universe. What you plant today, you harvest tomorrow. If you plan out, you'll harvest hesitation. If you plant fear, you'll harvest paralysis. But if you plant belief, my friends, you'll harvest reality. Think about Rosa, a teacher in a small town who thought she could change the lives of children. Others had given up on that. Thought became a mission. That mission became a movement. And today, hundreds of lives stand transformed because one woman dared to think differently. Her thoughts didn't just define her, they redefined an entire community. We live in a world that's constantly telling us what to think. The media feeds us thoughts of division. Social media programs us for comparison, and society conditions us for conformity. But I ask you today, who gave them the right to occupy the sacred space of your mind? When did you surrender the power to choose your own thoughts? Your brain processes approximately 60,000 thoughts per day. Each one is a brick in the foundation of your future. Each one is either building your prison or constructing your palace. The thought, I am capable, builds a different neuron pathway than I am worthless. The thought, we can unite, creates a different future than we must divide. Remember, there in darkest hours of history, it was not weapons that initiated change. It was thoughts of freedom, thoughts of justice, thoughts of possibility. These thoughts became words, these words became actions, and these action. I see you sitting there, some nodding, some skeptical, some afraid to believe, but understand this: your thoughts about this very moment are already shaping what you'll take from it. If you're thinking this won't work for me, you're right. If you're thinking this could change everything, you're also right. Every great movement began with a thought. Every revolution started in someone's mind. Every breakthrough, every innovation, every act of courage began when someone dared to think different. Your thoughts are not just passive observers of your life, they are active creators of your reality. Think about the Wright brothers for a moment. The world told them human Flight was impossible, but they held on to a different thought against the weight of universal. Doubt, they clung to the thought that humans were meant to soar. That thought lifted humanity into the skies, and beyond. Your thoughts are like invisible hands molding the clay of your existence. Every moment, every interaction, every decision is shaped by the thoughts you choose to entertain. When you think, I am worthy, you stand taller. When you think, I can make a difference, you act differently. When you think, we are one, you treat people differently. The power of your thoughts extends beyond your personal reality. Your thoughts create ripples that affect your family, your community, your world. When you think abundance, you give more freely. When you think love, you act with compass. When you think unity, you build bridges instead of walls. I stand here today not just to speak about thoughts, but to challenge the very thoughts that have held us bound. The thought that we must remain divided. The thought that some are more worthy than others. The thought that change is impossible. These thoughts have chained humanity long enough. Consider that every person who ever achieved greatness began with a thought that defied their reality. They dared to think beyond their circumstances, beyond their limitations, beyond their fears. They understood that thoughts are not just responses to reality, they are creators of reality. As we transition into understanding how negative thoughts imprison us, remember this: you are not your current thoughts, but you will become what you consistently think. The journey of transformation begins not with a step, but with a, and that journey continues as we explore how the prison of negative thinking has held humanity captive for far too long. Ride for prison of negative thoughts. It stands before us like a fortress of steel and stone, but it bars a forage from nothing more than the whispers in our minds. I can't, I'm not worthy. These thoughts, my brothers and sisters, are the chains that bind us, the walls that confine us, and the guards that keep us from our promised land of possibility. Have you ever noticed how a single negative thought multiplies like a virus in your mind? One moment you're thinking, I made a mistake, and before you know it, you're convinced you're a complete failure. This is no accident. Our brains are wired with a negative bias, an ancient survival mechanism that once protected us from predators, but now predates on our potential. Let me tell you about James, a young man I met in the depths of this mental prison. Every morning he would wake up to the sound of his own thoughts telling him he wasn't enough, you're too poor to succeed. The thoughts would whisper, your family has always been nothing, and you'll always be nothing. These thoughts weren't just thoughts, they were hereditary shackles passed down through generations of systematic doubt and learned helplessness. Spin speaks to us clearly when negative thoughts dominate your mind. Your brain releases cortisol and other stress hormones. Your body literally prepares for failure. Your shoulders slump, your creativity dimes, your energy drains. You become a physical manifestation of your mental prison. But here's the revolution hidden in this reality: if negative thoughts can create this physical response, positive thoughts can create the opposite. Think about the times you walked into a room and felt immediately that something was wrong. No words were spoken, but you could feel the tension, couldn't you? That's because thoughts create an atmosphere and energy that's as real as the air we breathe. Negative thoughts don't just imprison the thinker, they create a contagion of limit action that spreads through families, communities, and entire nations. In our neighborhoods, I see children playing their minds still free from the prison of negative thinking, but slowly and visibly the bars begin to form. You can't do that, no. Your place, each negative thought, is another bricking the wall of their limitation. By the time they're adults, many don't even see the prison anymore. They've accepted its confines as reality. The most insidious aspect of this prison is its invisibility. Unlike physical chains, you cannot see the thoughts that bind you. Unlike real prison bars, you cannot touch the barriers that hold you back. But make no mistake, these thought prisons are as real as any, made of concrete and steel, and often more difficult to escape. Consider the story of Maya, a brilliant artist who spent 20 years believing she wasn't good enough to pursue of her passion. Her negative thoughts built a prison so perfect she couldn't even see the doors. Who do you think you are? Her thoughts would taunt. Real artists are born with talent. Every day these thoughts laid another brick, built another wall, until she was completely income in her own Limiting beliefs, the tragedy of this mental incarceration is that we often become our own prison guards. We don't need others to limit us, we do it to ourselves. We take the negative thoughts planted by others and nurture them like poisonous flowers in the garden of our minds. We become so comfortable in our thought prison that we defend it, protect it, even take pride in it. That's just how things are. We say, that's just who I am. And let me share the truth that the prison of negative thoughts doesn't want you to know. Every prison has a key. Every wall has a weak point. Every chain has a link that can be broken. The key is understanding that thoughts, no matter how long held, how deeply rooted, are not facts. They are choices, and choices can be changed. Look at the person next to you right now. They're battling their own negative thoughts, fighting their own mental prison break. Some are winning, some are losing, but all are fighting. This is the universal human struggle, the battle between the thoughts that imprison us and the thoughts that can set us free. The history books tell us of men and women who broke free from their thought prisons and changed the world. They weren't superhuman. They simply realized that the walls of their mental prison were an illusion, that the chains of negative thinking could be broken by the simple, not easy act of choosing different thoughts. Your brain, that miraculous organ floating in darkness, doesn't know difference between a real prison and a thought prison. When you think limiting thoughts, it creates neural pathways that reinforce those limitations. But here's the miracle of neuroplasticity. Those same pathways can be rewired. The prison can be renovated into a palace. I see some of you shifting uncomfortably in your seats. That's your negative thoughts resisting their own demolition. They've been comfortable in their prison cells, safe in their limitations. But comfort is not freedom. Safety is not growth. And negative thoughts, no matter how familiar, are not your destiny. The statistics tell us that the average person has about 60,000 thoughts per day, and 80 of those thoughts are negative. Imagine building a house where 80 of the materials are defective. Would you live in that house? Yet we live in these mental structures built from predominantly negative thoughts, and we wonder why our lives feel like they're crumbling. But there's hope in this statistic, because if thoughts built this prison, thoughts can tear it down. If negative thinking constructed these walls, positive thinking can demolish them. The same power that built your mental prison is the power that can set you free. Remember me, May, the artist I mentioned. Her breakthrough came when she realized her thoughts were not her identity. She began to question the prison guards in her mind. Says who she would ask when the thought "you're not good enough" arose. Based on what evidence she would challenge when doubt crept in. Today her art hangs in galleries, but more importantly, her example hangs in the minds of others fighting for their own freedom. The prison of negative thoughts maintains its power through isolation. It wants you to believe you're alone in your struggles, unique in your failures, singular in your doubts. But look around this room. Every person here has felt the weight of negative thoughts. Every person here has fought against mental chains. Every person here has the power to break free. As we stand here together, feel the collective energy of possibility. Feel the shared determination to break free from these thought prisons, because the next step in our journey is understanding how to break these chains, how to stage a revolution in our own minds. Names begin to rattle. The walls start to shake in the distance. A revolution is brewing, not in the streets, but in the minds of those who dare to challenge their own thoughts. This is the moment when transformation becomes more than a possibility. It becomes an inevitability. Raise your hand if you've ever told yourself that breaking free from negative thoughts is impossible. Keep it raised if you've ever felt the weight of those thoughts crushing your dreams, suffocating your aspirations. Now watch as I share with you the keys to your liberation, the tools of your mental revolution. The first key is awareness. Like a prisoner who's lived so long in darkness that they've forgotten the sun exists, many of us have become blind to our own thought patterns. Right now, in this moment, become aware of your thoughts. Are they serving you, or are you serving them? Are they building your future or destroying it? This awareness is the first crack in the prison wall. Jacob David, a factory worker who spent 30 years telling himself he was just a factory worker. His thoughts had built a cage so comfortable he'd forgotten it was a cage. But one day he became aware of these thoughts. He began to notice how often he used the word, just how frequently he diminished himself. That awareness became the spark of his revolution. A second key is rejection, the bold, unflinching rejection of thoughts that no longer serve your purpose. When a thought enters your mind saying you can't, you must stand like a warrior, declare, says, who when your mind whispers, it's too late, you must roar back, says what? Clock, this is not gentle work. My friends, this is the work of warriors, of revolutionaries, of those who dare to reshape their destiny. Your mind will resist this revolution. It will fight to maintain the status quo, to keep you safe, imprisoned in familiar limitations. But remember, Ford is the enemy of growth, and safety is the assassin of possibility. Every great revolution in history faced resistance. Your mental revolution will be no different. Let me share a technique that has liberated thousands from their mental chains. I call it the thought trial. When a negative thought enters your mind, put it on trial. You man evidence, cross-examine it. I'm not good enough. Where's your proof? I'll never succeed. Based on what evidence? Watch how these thoughts crumble under the scrutiny. The third key is replacement. Nature abhor a vacuum, and so does your mind. It's not enough to break the chains. You must forge new ones of gold chains that lift instead of bind. By every negative thought you reject, plant a seed of I can't becomes I'm learning. I'm afraid becomes I'm preparing. Of your mind as a garden. For years you may have allowed weeds of doubt and fear to grow unchecked. The revolution begins not just by pulling these weeds, but by intentionally planting flowers of possibility in their place every morning. Plant these seeds, water them with action, watch them grow in the sunshine of possibility. The revolution of mindset requires daily practice. Just as a prisoner's muscles would atrophy in confinement, your ability to think positively may have weakened in your mental prison. Strengthen it when negative thoughts come, and they will come. Treat them not as truth, but as opportunities to practice your revolution. Consider Maria, a single mother who lived in the prisoner I'm not enough. Every day she would practice replacing this thought. I'm not enough became I am more than enough. I can't provide became I find ways. I'm failing my children became I'm showing my children how to overcome. Today her children don't see a struggling single mother. They see a warrior who broke her chains and taught them to break theirs. The fourth key is community. No revolution succeeds in isolation. Look around you. Every person in this room is a potential ally in your mental revolution. When your thoughts tell you you're alone, reach out. When your mind says you're weak, lean on others' strength. The prison of negative thoughts maintains its power through isolation. Break that power through connection. Create a revolution in your household. Let your children see you questioning limiting thoughts. Let them witness you breaking chains. Show them that thoughts are not prison bars, but building blocks. That their minds are not cells, but launching the revolution you start today could liberate generations. The science of neuroplasticity tells us that every time you reject a negative thought and choose a positive one, you're not just changing your mind, you're literally rewiring your brain. You're creating newer pathways, building new highways of possibility. This isn't just psychology, it's biology. You're not just thinking differently, you're becoming different. Some of you might be thinking this sounds good, but my thoughts are too deeply ingrained. Remember this, no chain is stronger than the decision to break it. No wall is higher than the determination to climb it. No prison is secure against the power of a liberated mind. The revolution of mindset demands courage. It requires you to step into uncertainty, to challenge everything you believed about yourself, but considers you're already living with uncertainty. The only question is whether it's the uncertainty of growth or the uncertainty of stagnation. As we progress toward our vision of the promised land of positive thinking, remember that every revolution has its setbacks. There will be days when the old thoughts return, when the chains feel heavy, when the walls seem high. These are not failures, they are opportunities to practice your revolution, to strengthen your resolve, to prove your commitment to freedom. The time for mental revolution is now, not tomorrow, not when conditions are perfect, not when you feel ready. Now, in this moment, with this breath, the chains of negative thoughts are starting to crash. The walls of limitation are beginning to crumble. The revolution of mindset has begun. Beyond the broken chain, past the crumbled walls of limitation, lies a landscape of infinite possibility, the promised land of positive thinking. But this is no mere fairy tale destination. This is a reality that awaits every mind brave enough to make the journey from bondage to freedom, from limitation to possibility. Take a deep breath in your lungs. In this moment you're breathing the same air that sustained history's greatest achievers, greatest thinkers, greatest revolutionaries. What made them different wasn't their circumstances, it was their thoughts. They dared to breathe in possibility while others choked on doubt. In this promised land, thoughts don't just reflect reality, they created. Every morning brings not just a new day, but a new opportunity to SCU your reality with the tools of positive thinking. Imagine wakening each day not to the heavy chains of I can't, but to the liberating wings of I can, I will, I must. Let me tell you about Marcus, a young man who discovered this promised land after years of wandering in the desert of negative thinking. He grew up in a neighborhood where dreams went to die, where ambition was considered a form of betrayal. But Marcus discovered something powerful. His thoughts were his own. No one could think for him, no one could dream for him, no one could limit him without his permission. In the promised land of positive thinking, failure isn't a destination, it's feedback. Obstacles aren't roadblocks, they're stepping stones. Every no is merely or not yet is the difference between saying I wish and declaring I will. Your brain, that magnificent organ that has brought you this far, literally changes its physical structure based on your thoughts. When you consistently think positively, you're not just changing your mood, you're creating new connections, building new possibilities, literally constructing the architecture of success in your mind. Think about this. Every great achievement in human ministry began as a positive thought in someone's mind. The first flight, the first steps on the moon, the first cure for a deadly disease, all began with someone thinking, what if instead of, why bother? The promised land of positive thinking isn't just a place of personal transformation, it's the birthplace of human progress. In this new territory, gratitude becomes your compass. When negative thoughts attempt to reclaim their territory, and they will, the gratitude shows you the way forward. Each morning before your feet touch the floor, count 3BL. Watch how this simple practice begins to transform your mental landscape from a battlefield into a guard. Consider Sarah, a woman who lived in the shadows of N enough for 40 years. Her transformation began with one simple shift. Instead of seeing what was wrong, she trained herself to see what was possible. I'm too old became I have experience. I'm too poor became I'm resourceful. I'm alone became I'm independent. Today, she runs a successful business, empowering other women to make the same journey. Their promised land of positive thinking isn't a place where problems don't exist, it's a place where problems don't prevail. It's where challenges become opportunities, where setbacks become setups, where obstacles become occasions for growth. This is a fundamental shift that separates those who succeed from those who sure. Your words become your wands. In this new territory, they shape your reality with the precision of a sculptor's tools. Our tribe becomes I will maybe someday becomes starting today, if only becomes I'm making it happen. These aren't just semantic changes, they're declarations of independence from the tyranny of negative thinking. The energy in this promised land is contagious. When you operate from a place of positive thinking, you become a lighthouse for others still lost in the fog of doubt. Your very presence becomes an invitation to possibility. Your life becomes evidence that transformation is possible. But remember this, the promised land of positive thinking isn't a destination you reach once and remain forever. It's a territory you must reclaim each day, a garden you must attend constantly, a revolution you must recommit to with every sunrise. The old thoughts will try to colonize your mind again. Your job is to stand guard at the borders of your consciousness. In this new territory, you'll find that positive thinking isn't just about personal achievement, it's about collective elevation. When you lift your thoughts, you lift your family. When you elevate your mindset, you elevate your community. When you Transform your thinking, you transform your word. The science's cloth strengthen your immune system, lower stress hormones, increase resilience, and even extend your lifespan. But beyond these physical benefits lies something even more profound, the ability to create a life aligned with your highest potential. Picture yourself 5 years from now having fully claimed your territory in this promised land. How do you walk? How do you talk? How do you face challenges? How do you inspire others? That future self isn't just a possibility, it's an inevitability if you dare to think it into existence. And as we stand here together on the cusp of this new territory, remember that the promised land of positive thinking isn't just a place, it's a practice. It's not just a destination, it's a decision. It's not just a hope, it's a choice, and that choice is yours to make right here, right now. The walls have fallen, the chains are broken, the revolution has succeeded. Now the real work begins, the work of building a new reality, one positive thought at a time. The promised land awaits, not in some distant future, but in the very next thought you choose to think. What we think today becomes who we are tomorrow. Standing here in this moment of possibility, ask yourself, what legacy will your thoughts create? The footprints you leave in the sands of time begin with the impressions you make in your mind right now. Think of the child who will look up to you tomorrow, the colleague who will seek your guidance next week, the stranger who will be inspired by your example next year. Your thoughts are just shaping your life. They're creating ripples that will touch countless shores, influence countless lives, shape countless futures. Remember Michael, the accountant who spent 20 years believing his impact was limited to spreadsheets and balance sheets. His transformation began with a single fool. What if I could make numbers tell stories of possibility? Today, he runs a financial literacy program that has lifted hundreds of families out of poverty. His thoughts didn't just change his life, they create a legacy of empowerment. Your brain processes about 70,000 thoughts each day. That's 70,000 opportunities to shape your reality, 70,000 chances to influence your future, 70,000 moments to choose between limitation and possibility. What if you treated each thought as a seed that would grow into your legacy? What harvest would you plant today? Time for passive thinking is over. The era of mental autopilot must end. Every thought you think is either building your legacy or dismantling it. Every mental choice you make is either expanding your impact or contracting it. There is no neutral ground in the territory of thought. Consider Earth. The greatest movements in history began with a thought in someone's mind. Civil rights, human rights, technological revolutions all started with someone daring to think differently. Your thoughts might not just change your life, they might change the world. The question is, will you give them that chance? Look at your hands. These same hands that will create your future are guided by the thoughts you choose right now. When you reach out to help someone, one, when you build something new, when you write your story, it all begins with a thought like those thoughts worthy of the legacy you wish to leave. The call to action isn't just about thinking positively, it's about thinking purposefully. It's about understanding that every thought you entertain is like a vote for the kind of world you want to create. What are your thoughts voting for? What reality are they electing to manifest? He got your phone. Look at your most recent messages, social media posts, emails. These communications are the visible traces of your thoughts. Are they creating the legacy you want to leave? Are they building bridges or walls? Are they lifting others up or holding them down? Your digital footprint is just one manifestation of your thought legacy. The responsibility of conscious thinking might feel heavy, but consider the alternative. Unconscious thinking has led humanity down paths of destruction, division, and limitation. Your choice to think consciously, positively, purposefully isn't just a personal choice, it's a social responsibility. Delana discovered this when she transformed her thoughts about her small corner store. She stopped thinking it's just a shop and started thinking this is a community hub. That shift in thinking led to creating a space where neighbors connect, where ideas flourish, where a community grows. Her thoughts didn't just change her business, they transformed her neighborhood. Your legacy isn't something that begins when you're gone, it's being written with every thought you think right now. The way you think about challenges, the way you process setbacks, the way you envision possibilities. These are all chapters in the story of your legacy. stand up. Feel the ground beneath your feet. This is where your legacy begins, not tomorrow, not when conditions are perfect, not when. You feel ready now with this thought. With this choice, tools are in your hands, the knowledge fills your mind, the power flows through your thoughts. What's missing is action, decisive, immediate, unwavering action. Will you continue to let thoughts happen to you, or will you begin consciously creating the thoughts that will create your legacy? Now think about the stories that will be told about you. Will they speak of someone who dared to think differently? Will they tell of a person who used their thoughts to lift others? Will they describe a life that inspired positive change? These stories are being written right now with every thought you choose to think. Your thoughts are like stones thrown into the pond of existence. The ripples they create will touch shows you may never see, influence lives you may never meet, create changes you may never witness. But make no mistake that those ripples are real, and they are your legacy, for all the action is clear. Become the conscious architect of your thought legacy. Monitor your mental environment as carefully as you would monitor your physical environment. Guard your thought territory as preciously as you would guard your home. Cultivate your mental garden as diligently as you would tend a physical GST. Now take the next thought that enters your mind and us. Is this the kind of thought I want? Echoing through time, is this the mental legacy I want to leave? Is this the ripple I want creating waves in the world? As we conclude this journey together, remember, are not just private mental events. They are the seeds of tomorrow's reality, the blueprints of future possibilities, the foundation of your life lasting legacy. What you think today will echo in the lives of others tomorrow.